Hello, in this video we're going to discuss the process of becoming a teacher in Georgia. So to begin, you want to understand what it means to be a certified teacher and what being certified allows you to do. So being a certified teacher in Georgia is going to allow you to teach in public school settings, as well as potentially teach in private school settings, as well as potentially teach or work in daycare, childcare settings. Now, to work in a K-12 public school, which are all of your county schools, those type things, those do require certified teachers. So that means that the teacher would have to gone through a certification program and earned a current Georgia teaching license. Now, not all private schools require teachers to be certified, but oftentimes they do have a percentage of those teachers being certified. So they kind of do maybe have somewhat of a preference for teachers who are certified. So, to become a certified teacher in Georgia involves two specific things. Number one is having a bachelor degree, which is a 4-year degree is what it's commonly called. You also want to have the Georgia teacher certification or licensure. So, those are two separate things. Having a bachelor's degree in education does not guarantee that you're going to be a certified teacher. You want to make sure the program you go through is aligned to allow for Georgia teacher certification. And then you also want to make sure that your bachelor's degree has been completed and that you have completed the certification steps involved in addition. So the first step is to obtain a bachelor's degree. Most of the time, teachers get bachelor's degree in the fields that they want to teach, so either elementary, middle, or secondary, which is also known as high school education. Now, getting a bachelor's degree and going through an education program often means completing practicums and student teaching. Practicums are shorter bits of maybe a smaller version of a student teaching where you're assigned to a teacher in a classroom. You conduct lessons, you job shadow, that kind of thing. So it's a shorter version of student teaching. And then, of course, student teaching is the classic that most of us are familiar with, where you basically become the teacher for a certain amount of time. And so you're assigned to a classroom, you job shadow the teacher, but you also take over the lessons, take over the planning, take over the grading for a bit of time. Usually, a bachelor's degree involves 4 years of college. So that involves 2 years at the associate level, which often involves general core curriculum, and then 2 years within the actual program itself, your junior and senior year, which is when all of your classes are education based, and normally when you have your practicums and student teachings. You want to make sure that when you get your bachelor's degree that it is from an accredited school and that it is aligned to the Professional Standards Commission, which is what allows you to gain Georgia teacher certification. So you want to make sure before you start the program that it does have those elements. Now, after you get your bachelor's degree, you can often continue on. A lot of times people become teachers and then continue on with their education after the fact. So, after you complete your bachelor's degree, which is where you gain that initial certification, you can continue to get advanced degrees. The process would be after a bachelor's degree, you could get a master's degree. After that, you could get a specialist degree, also known as an EDS. And then, of course, the last degree that you can get is a doctoral degree, which can be an educational doctorate or a philosophy doctorate. And so that's the process in which you can get advanced degrees if you like. But remember, a bachelor's degree is all that is required to be a teacher. Now, you can get your advanced degrees in a variety of subject areas. You could get your master's, specialist, etc., just in a regular field, elementary, middle, or secondary education. You can branch into different areas, though. You can look at different subject areas, so maybe getting a master's in elementary math, or maybe getting a master's that focuses in literacy or STEM or those type things. So some people branch out and focus in a certain subject area. You can also focus it in curriculum and instruction, which is great if you ever want to be kind of a leader among the teachers in regards to curriculum development, academic coach, those type things. You can get one in instructional technology if you want to go more of the technology route. And then you can also get one in leadership if you plan to maybe be an assistant principal, kind of taking on that leadership role. Now, why do people continue to get advanced degrees? It's only required to have a bachelor's degree. So why would you continue forth and get advanced degrees? One reason is it's more pay. Teachers are paid, or public school teachers are paid based upon a step system. And you get a bump in how much you get paid based upon two different things: how many degrees you have and how many years of teaching experience you have. So it might be that once you get a master's degree, you get a bump in pay. So you get extra money added to your salary every year because you have a master's degree instead of a bachelor's degree. So that is often a motivation for people to get advanced degrees, in addition to just knowing more about teaching and learning. Also, with your years of experience, every so many years you get a bump. So you might go from having 3 years of experience to having 5 years of experience. You might get a bump. Having 5 years of experience to 8 years of experience, you might get a bump. So years of experience also plays a role in how much you are paid. Now let's move on to the second piece, which is certification. So we discussed having a bachelor's degree, which is important to become a certified teacher. But the second step is having the correct certification. And so you do need to hold a license specifically for Georgia, and this is provided by the Professional Standards Commission, or the PSC. Now, if you move to another state, you will have to go through the process of transferring your license over to that state. Sometimes that involves taking a test, sometimes it's just a payment that you make, sometimes it's just a matter of paperwork. So it just kind of depends, but you just want to make sure that you are licensed in the state that you are teaching in. So if you move from Georgia to Florida, you would have to get Florida licensed. If you were in Texas and you moved to Georgia, you would want to make sure to transfer your license into a Georgia license. There are tiered certification levels within Georgia. So, to begin with, you would get a pre service certification. This is actually what you get while you're in the teacher education program. Then, once you graduate and you first become a teacher, you move into an induction certification. And then, after you've completed a few years of successful teaching, you move into the professional level of certification. So, you don't just right out the gates get one certification and that's the end of it. There's kind of tiered levels to where you work your way up. Now, this certification must be renewed every 5 years by completing professional development. So, oftentimes, as a teacher, you are doing professional development in terms of taking classes towards an advanced degree, doing online coursework, participating in faculty meetings, that kind of thing. But you do have to show evidence of professional development in order to renew your certificate every 5 years. And oftentimes, the Human Resources Department of your school system assists in this process. So this is the process for obtaining the degree and certification. So this is going to be the process you're going to go through in order to become a licensed teacher. So first of all, you want to complete your associate level coursework. So that is something that you probably are working on right now. It's your first 2 years of college. There is core work involved as well as some education classes. Right before you start the junior senior program, you want to complete the GACE program admissions exam. It's a reading, writing, and math portion. This is we used to call it the program admissions or the general admission assessment. It's not related to teaching at all. It's almost like a high school graduation test. You also want to complete the ethics entry course. This is kind of like an online course that you complete regarding the code of ethics for the school for education, K-12 education. Then once you complete those things, so you've completed your associate degree, you've completed your admissions exam, you've completed your ethics entry course, then you may enter a bachelor program. You want to, of course, complete the bachelor level coursework. That usually takes 2 years, junior and senior year. In that process, you're completing practicums and field experiences where you're assigned to a teacher during the semester. You job shadow him or her, you teach some lessons, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the end, last semester, you'll do your student teaching, which is pretty much the entire semester, and it's where you take over as the teacher. Then, right around the time you're getting ready to graduate, you complete the GACE subject area exam, which that's where you complete it in your field. So, elementary education, special education, middle grades, whatever that is going to be. You complete that and pass that. You also want to complete any other state requirements. In the past, there have been portfolio systems that you've had to complete for the state or for the school, so you want to make sure to complete those. And then the final thing, once you've completed your bachelor degree, and you've taken your GACE exam and passed it, then you want to complete that certification paperwork that the college will help you out with to put in for your licensure and your certification with Georgia. And that's the process of completing the degree, of course, and then completing the certification step in order to become a licensed Georgia teacher. Now, let's talk a little bit about Gordon's programs. So, Gordon has three programs. Our first that we'll talk about is the elementary education program. You would become certified in elementary education and special education general curriculum. That's what your actual Georgia certification would be. The cohort begins in the fall. So, you would complete your associate degree work, your freshman and sophomore work, and then you would start the cohort beginning your junior year. It does take 5 semesters. You would start your junior year fall, your junior year spring. You would go over the summer, and then you would start your senior year fall and your senior year spring. Now, during your senior year spring, that last semester, you're completing your student teaching. You have practicums in all of these semesters except for summer, but you are completing that big student teaching element in the spring. And in order to be accepted into the bachelor program for elementary education, you must have a 2.75 GPA. So now let's talk about our middle grades education program. So with middle grades, you want to pick two areas of focus. You can choose between reading, language arts, math, science, history, social studies. So it might be that you want to focus in reading and history, or language arts and science. So you pick two focus areas. This cohort also begins in the fall, and you must have a 2.75 GPA to enter that program. Lastly, we have the secondary or high school education program. You'll choose one area of focus here, so biology, English, math, or history. You can begin any semester. Like with the other programs, you will have a practicum and student teaching experience to complete, as well as you must have a 2.5 GPA to begin the program. Now, in order to apply to Gordon's program, this is going to be the process for that. Um, so you want to apply to Gordon's program right as you're finishing your associate degree coursework. So those first 2 years. The application that you will complete does involve an essay, and there's an application that you fill out to start the education program. In addition, you have two disposition forms to fill out. Those must come from education teachers. And then you have three recommendation forms, and those can come from other teachers or maybe employers. And then you would you would want to complete the GACE program admission exam as well as that ethics course that we discussed earlier. So all of those are required before you begin the junior senior program in Gordon's elementary, middle, or secondary program. And that is just a short snippet and kind of a rundown of what the process of becoming a teacher in Georgia involves, as well as how it specifically relates to Gordon State College.